Hello, my name is Bill Walker. I am a co-founder of Friends of the Article 5 Convention, FOAVC. Our mission is to tell people the truth about an Article 5 convention and dispel the lies about it. Today, we'd like to tell you about the half-truths recently published in a Washington Times article regarding an Article 5 convention. The Times is published in Washington, D.C. by the Reverend Sun Myung Moon, and has been described by the Columbia Journalism Review as the media arm of Reverend Sun Myung Moon's Unification Church. According to the latest figures, the Times has an average daily circulation of 102,000, about 1/7 of its chief competitor, the Washington Post. The Times has been described as a conservative news source, but according to the Columbia Journalism Review, there is serious doubts about the accuracy of its news reporting.
According to several sources, the Times has lost money every year since beginning publication in 1982.
The reason for this financial failure may be the inaccurate reporting of the Washington Times and the unwillingness by their editors to correct these factual blunders when they are made. This attitude is best illustrated by Mr. Wesley Pruden, editor-in-chief of the Times, who said in a 2004 speech at the 21st World Media Conference, "You'll note that our Constitution does not say anything about guaranteeing a responsible press, only a guarantee of a free press." On December 9, 2007, the Washington Times published an article entitled, "Frederick Seats Authority to Deal with Illegals." The story, bylined by Washington Times reporter Tom LoBianco, discussed efforts by Frederick County, Maryland officials to request their state legislatures to apply for an Article 5 convention to propose an amendment dealing with illegal immigration. In the story, Mr. LoBianco wrote, quote, 33 state legislatures between 1963 and 1969 petitioned Congress to hold a constitutional convention to consider determining the membership of legislative chambers by means other than population, and 32 states petitioned Congress between 1978 and 1983 to call a constitutional convention to adopt a balanced budget amendment. Mr. LoBianco gave no attribution for these alleged facts. They are obviously intended to make the reader believe insufficient applications exist to cause Congress to call an Article 5 convention. According to official government sources, however, these statements are inaccurate, misleading, and false. The congressional record shows that all 50 states have submitted a total of 567 applications for a convention, far in excess of the 34 applications required by the Constitution for a convention call. According to an article published in the Hamlin Law Review, co-authored by the late Honorable Federal District Court Judge Bruce M. Van Sickle and Mr. Lynn M. Bowie, attorney at law from North Dakota, quote, when the applications from states requesting a general convention are combined with states applying for a balanced budget, a total of 38 states have applied for a convention to propose amendments to the Constitution. Moreover, 33 states have applied for an apportionment amendment, and when these are combined with general convention applications, a total of 36 states have applied for a convention. The Van Sickle-Bowie article is based on information contained in the congressional record, the official government record of Article 5 convention applications. It is public record and can be found in any public library. Further, in a recent federal lawsuit before the Supreme Court, the federal government admitted in open public court that sufficient applications exist in either apportionment or balanced budget to compel Congress to call a convention. In other words, according to easily obtained official government records, the two subjects of balanced budget and apportionment each have received sufficient state applications to cause Congress to call an Article 5 convention, which so far it has refused to do in direct violation of the Constitution. The Washington Times would have you believe, in a misleading article from an unattributed source, that there are insufficient applications for a convention call at all. When FOAVC discovered these inaccuracies, we contacted Mr. Wesley Pruden, editor-in-chief of the Times, and informed him about them. We provided him the correct facts and requested the Times print a retraction or correction to the story. We also contacted Mr. Joe Weber, acting Metro editor of the Times, about the half-truths in their article. While FOAVC received a written assurance from Mr. Weber that a correction to the misreporting in this story would be forthcoming, The Washington Times has refused to print a correction of these false facts, or even to name the source they allegedly came from. It is obvious this misreporting by the Times is deliberate, as they have refused to correct their article. This false story is just one example of an intentional general pattern of misinformation by the mainstream media and many websites purposely done to discredit the efforts to have Congress call an Article 5 convention, which, according to the law of the Constitution, they are required to do. Instead of reporting the facts, however, the Washington Times is content to report falsehoods. But wait a minute, you say. I don't care about an Article 5 convention. I don't even know anything about it. Who cares if the Washington Times lies about that? We've shown with irrefutable documentary evidence from official government sources that the Washington Times is willing to distort the truth in its so-called factual news reporting. The Times is unwilling to correct these distortions, even if the real truth is brought to their attention. Who's to say they haven't done the same thing in another so-called factual news story dealing with another issue? So the next time you read a news story in the Washington Times, be warned. The so-called facts you read could be inaccurate, unattributed half-truths intended not to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but a half-truth the Washington Times wants you to believe. Just remember what the Times editor Wesley Pruden said. You'll note that our Constitution does not say anything about guaranteeing a responsible press, only a guarantee of a free press. Free press or not, FOAVC believes you should know the truth about the Washington Times and their so-called news stories. Thank you for your time.